was traveling to Yangon recently, and found a hotel there the day we arrived for pretty cheap. The staff mentioned that the rates were low because there was some maintenance work going on several floors. We slept fine, woke up, and headed out to breakfast. At breakfast, we met some Germans who had also stayed the night at the same hotel. They said they weren't able to sleep because in the middle of the night, someone woke them up to move them from the floor they were staying on. We found out later that they had been moved because they were on one of the floors reserved for maintenance, and part of the work included gassing the rooms for bugs. During the night, the maintenance staff was just going around the rooms, shoving the gas nozzle under each door and letting it run. They wound up killing the 2 people in the room next to the Germans we met before realizing they had accidentally booked people on that floor. Luckily, it wasn't the floor we were staying on, but it's always stuck with me how easily we could have been the victims. I was visiting New York City with my wife and 1-year-old. My brother had made the hotel reservation for us, and we assumed it would be nice. We arrived and checked in, and headed to the room my brother had booked for us. The hallways were a maze, and it took us a few minutes to find it. The room was pretty sketchy, but it was late and we were tired, so we started to settle in. My wife had brought a quart of milk for our kid, and since the room didn't have a fridge, she asked me to take it to the front desk and see if we could store it there. I took the milk and headed down the winding hallway. I got a bit turned around, but eventually found the elevator. I got in, hit the L button, and rode the elevator down. When the door opened at what I thought would be the lobby, I was met with a dark, narrow hallway. I stupidly stepped out, trying to figure out where I was and what was happening. There were several doors on each side of the hallway, but they were all locked. I continued walking and eventually could hear some music playing. After a couple of minutes, I turned a corner and almost ran into 2 big guys. I stopped and stared at them, wondering what the hell was going on. One of them, after looking me up and down, pausing at the milk I was carrying with me, asked me what I was doing there. I just stared for a few seconds, dumbfounded, and then told him I was trying to find the lobby. He escorted me to the entrance of what turned out to be a strip club. After exiting, I saw the hotel about half a block up the street. Apparently, I took the elevator that the strippers would take paying clients back to the hotel. I thought I was in the Twilight Zone there for a few minutes. When I was around 14 or 15, I went on a trip to Las Vegas with my family. We stayed off the main strip in a 2-bedroom suite at a smaller casino hotel. My parents left to go out and enjoy the night while I stayed in with my younger siblings. They were sleeping in the bedrooms while I hung out in the living room watching TV. I must have dozed off around midnight, and when I woke up, I was in a stairwell, outside of the hotel room. I had no shoes on, no cell phone, and no room key. I went to the front office and told them I was locked out of my room. Luckily, they believed me and gave me a new key. I still don't know how or why I was out there. I had never experienced sleepwalking before that, and I still haven't to this day. I just have no idea what happened. Maybe I did sleepwalk, or maybe something happened during those late hours that I can't remember, but it's creepy enough that I just had to share. This happened to my father when he was on a medical expedition in Tanzania. For a few nights, the group he was with stayed in a hotel. One night, he was woken up by his roommate who had all the lights on. He looked terrified, trembling and praying. My dad asked what was wrong, but his roommate wouldn't respond. He was obviously concerned, but since he couldn't do anything about it and it was late, he went back to sleep. Late the next night, my father got up to pee. He walked to the bathroom to relieve himself and caught a very strong scent of body odor. Most of the people in his group were daily deodorant wearers since they were from the US, but many locals in Tanzania didn't wear it frequently, so when the smell hit his nose, he realized he might not be alone. He turned around and saw, standing in the doorway, a local woman. She was shaking violently, her eyes rolled up and locked on the ceiling. He panicked. No one should have been able to get into the room. He turned back towards the bathroom in a moment of confusion, but when he looked back, She was just gone, as if she had never been there in the first place. Shaken, he went back to bed, thinking that he must have been dreaming or just seeing things in the dark. He laid back down on his side, and once the adrenaline started to subside, he began to doze off again. Suddenly, the smell returned. He slowly rolled over. There, in the bed beside him, was the woman, laying flat on her back, eyes glued to the ceiling. He broke his line of sight to her, and again, she was gone. He asked his roommate about it the next morning, and he said the same thing happened to him the night before, which is why he had been so shaken. Trying to find a justification for this experience, they figured it must have been a side effect of the anti-malarial drugs they were on, which can sometimes cause strange dreams. What they can't explain, though, is why they both experienced the exact same thing. I was on a business trip and arrived late at my hotel. There was a malfunction during the flight, so we had to land. They fixed the plane on the tarmac and we never deplaned, so I ended up getting to the hotel about 5 hours after I was originally planning. Room paid for, confirmation number in hand, but of course, they gave away my room. This was the late 90s, so I didn't have a great way of contacting them while I was still on the plane. I was already pretty unhappy from the delays, so I wasn't going anywhere. The event I had traveled for was going to be hosted in that hotel, and I wanted my room. I was polite, but resolutely firm. They did some scrambling and asked if I would consider a damaged room that was under construction. As long as the sheets are clean and I can go to bed, I don't care, I replied. Big mistake. The room they gave me was literally a crime scene. The case had been closed, so there weren't any legal concerns, but it was clear that someone had been killed, or at least nearly killed, in that room. They had primed over the bloodstains on the walls and ceiling, but had only taped down translucent plastic over the pooled blood on the carpet. Multiple small holes in the walls had obviously been patched and sanded. They gave me a completely new bed and TV from the on-site inventory, so I was comfortable, but it was still so creepy. The worst part was the priming job. It was so obviously blood splatter. You could see where the person had been hit and where they fell. You could even see where they had tried to get up, and where they finally collapsed.